Welcome, and thank you for joining the Q&A for United States versus Billie Holiday. I'm Gwen Declis, Deputy Director for the American Cinematheque, and I'd like to invite you to visit our website, americancinematheque.com, where you can find information about our upcoming program and how you can support the American Cinematheque by making a donation and becoming a member. I would like to thank Hulu for this Q&A with filmmaker Lee Daniels and star Andra Day. Moderating today is our good friend Jim Hemphill, film historian and filmmaker. Enjoy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Hemphill, and on behalf of the American Cinematheque, I'd like to welcome you to our discussion of the United States versus Billie Holiday. I am very excited to have two of the filmmakers behind the movie here with me today. We have producer-director Lee Daniels and star Andra Day. Welcome.
Hello.
Lee, I have sort of a general question I wanted to start with. After watching the movie, one of the things I really love about this movie and The Butler is your true life nonfiction movies have, for me, they have this kind of immediacy and passion that I think is sometimes lacking in movies based on true stories. They usually, those kind of movies, they often feel kind of distanced or antiseptic, and yours don't. And I'm curious, what's your philosophy about how to approach these kinds of stories so that they feel relevant and modern without being anachronistic?
What's anachronistic?
Like without being true to the period, being true to the time, and yet still feeling fresh and modern.
Okay, yeah. I think that, what we do is we tell the story of whatever it is that I'm trying to tell. But there's a little bit of now that's in it that even with the music that we chose for this film, Salam Raimi, when he did Billie's music, he and Andra, when I sent them off to the races to try to come up with the music, I said, just give me a little bit of, it has to feel period, but give me a little bit of thump so we can bop our heads as if we were in today. So I think that that's an example of how it is that I approached the actors, the script, each department. There's a little bit of now, even though we have to stay in the lane of 1940 something to 59, but we have a little bit of 2000 fairy dust in it, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I really love this movie, and I've got a lot of questions for both of you, but I guess we should sort of go back to the beginning. Lee, how did you get started on this? I mean, was the script already written? Was it something that you worked on with Susan Laurie Parks? How did it come to you, and what was the thing that made you want to do it?
I feel like I'm repeating myself because I've said it a few times, but it's important to you to understand that Lady Sings the Blues is the reason why I'm here today as a film. The movie blew my mind. It was, I was 13 when I saw the film, and I'd never seen Black people like that before. Black love, with the humor of Richard Pryor, Diana Ross, and Billy D. Williams, and the fashion and the music and everything, and Harlem. So I wanted to get people to feel the way I felt when I saw the film. And I guess it was directing. So in the back of my head somewhere throughout this process, I kept feeling the spirit of Lady Sings the Blues and Billie Holiday, because that was the Billie Holiday that I knew. 40 years later, cut to Susan Laurie Parks gives me this incredible script. And I didn't know what I thought I knew. And I knew that the story had to be told for two reasons. One, we keep thinking that when you think of civil rights leaders, you think of Martin Luther King, you think of Gandhi, you think of Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, but you don't think of Billie Holiday. I think she kicked off the civil rights movement as we know it to be with the song Strange Fruit. And we don't know that. It's not in our history books at all. And two, because, I was struggling. I've been struggling with my own addictions. And as an artist, I understood Billie, as a Black person in this field that we do, I got it. I got it. And I felt that I had to do her justice. So it was a double banger.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Andrew, what was your relationship to Billie Holiday and her music before you came to this? Were you a longtime fan? And
yeah, I've been a fan of hers since I was like 11 or 12 years old. I went to a performing arts school when I was young, and I studied, you know, jazz vocal performance and musical theater, and it was actually my musical theater instructor who sort of guided me in her direction. And the first two songs I heard were a song called Sugar and then Strange Fruit. And I was just first taken by her voice, that it was so different. Her tone was different. Her phrasing was different. It was not like the sort of powerhouse vocalist I was used to, but she owned her voice. And I love that she says that in, you know, what in clips where you hear where she's having a conversation or an interview, you know, it's mine. You know what I mean? It doesn't do too much, goes up, down a little bit, but it's mine. So I love that she owned her voice, which helped me to eventually own my own voice. And then hearing Strange Fruit, I just knew that something in it she had sacrificed. You know, I definitely, I felt that, I knew it was relevant to me and to my people. And so she really helped me to own my voice and to just make sure that no matter what I'm singing about, even if it's just a fun song, a love song, a summer song, you know, to really meet people, you know, where they're at, and to you really do have the power in those notes and those choices to sort of sway people. And so to use that with care and with wisdom.
Well, the performance is, you know, obviously incredibly transformative. Like 2 seconds into the movie, I was just hooked on this character and, you know, forgot I was watching an actor. And I'm curious, what kind of preparation and research did you do to immerse yourself in this once you knew you were going to be playing the part?
All of it. I was joking with Lee. I said, did you know that the internet has an end to it, and it will tell you that it has an end? It literally says you've reached the end. I was like, what the hell? So, but it was a ton of research. It was a lot of, you know, and Lee and I would have very, very rich conversations. He connected me to my acting coach, Tasha Smith. Once we got over the hump, because initially him and I both were like, I was like, I don't want to do it. He was like, I don't want you to do it. So it was really a trust, and it was really an faith on both of our ends to even say yes and to move forward in it. But once we did, he connected me to Tasha Smith, who was my acting coach and a wonderful director as well, and to Tom Jones, my dialect coach. And we just, you know, there was a lot that I knew about her already, but Tasha really had to help me. Like, great, I'm glad you know all of this stuff about Billie. You have done your research. That's amazing. But now we have to bring Andra through Billie. And I was like, that sounds vulnerable. No thanks. But so she really helped me to bring myself. I have to have Billie, but I need to inform her with myself. And then Tom helped me to get the voice, and we found it really through her laugh, and we found it through her breathing, you know, how she chases her breath, and just through her trauma and through her experiences and through her victories, you know. But it was tons of every book I could get my hands on, every documentary, every, and I, as Lee will tell you, I started, you know, smoking cigarettes, and I don't smoke, and drinking alcohol, and I don't drink, and cussing, and I don't cuss, and I stopped taking care of my voice and lost a bunch of weight, and is everything, you know, everything that was necessary, because she's worth it, you know.
Well, Lee, you know, I have to ask how you knew that Andra could do this, because the whole movie rests on her. If she hadn't been able to pull this off, you would have been in big trouble.
I didn't. You know, I had a couple of really great actors that had auditioned, and it was on lock, and they were great, and I was happy. But when I met with Andra and she questioned whether or not, in her eyes, I could see that she questioned whether or not she was the right person for this job. I knew that she wanted to do Billie justice, and I knew that she was in it to win it, if she was going to do it, which is the reason why I referred her to the acting coach and to the vocal coach, and sort of let's get off. But then before she auditioned, her acting coach showed me a clip of, Andra didn't know that she was being videotaped, but she was getting into character. And as she was getting into character, I saw the spirit of Billie. I saw God. It was as simple as that. And there was no, God spoke and said, this is who is playing Billie Holiday. And the rest is on screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, she's absolutely incredible. It's it's one of those rare movies where a few minutes in, it was almost like an out of body experience. I just forgot I was watching a movie, and I think that it was really amazing. And I was so, there were so many things about it as somebody who does know, I also mainly know like the lady sings the blues version of this story. So I was kind of astonished by a lot of things in it. I'm curious, I mean, were either of you shocked in researching this movie by the magnitude of the US government's crusade against her? I mean, why do you think they considered her to be so dangerous?
Andra's good at this. We both can talk about it, but Andra really talks about it. Andra, hit it.
I will say, bam, this is how it was on set. Boom, got it. Oh no, no, but yeah, because it does matter, and it matters to both of us. It's sadly, I knew about the government going after Billie Holiday. I knew that, about her singing Strange Fruit, but I didn't know the degree to which they did. I didn't know Jimmy Fletcher was a revelatory piece for me. And so, and how deep they got in. And, so I did know about them setting her up and planting drugs and doing all these things. And I have to say, honestly, frankly, it's not actually shocking. It should be shocking. You should actually be shocked. And I think for some people, it might be, and for different generations, it might be, but it's not, when you're aware of things like COINTELPRO, and you're aware of, the Tuskegee experiments, and it's not shocking. Of course they did it, because how else are you supposed to continue systems, right? Such huge sort of fractals, these systems of oppression, without suppressing the narrative and without suppressing the truth. What shocked me was her, and what shocked me was her resilience and her fight. And that, as Lee puts it so eloquently, she was not a victim. And that you remember, when you think back, like, oh yeah, this was pre-civil rights, or pre the reinvigorated civil rights, and that it was truly the death of Emmett Till and her singing Strange Fruit in defiance of the government that reinvigorated the civil rights movement. That means she was doing this all on her own. She did not have the support of a civil rights movement. And oftentimes her own people would turn against her and, why won't you behave? Why can't you? All while battling addiction and traumas. And so that's what really shocked me, was her fight and her resilience, and that she is truly the godmother of civil rights, and her power and her strength.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Lee?
No, that's why I said she does it. So, I mean, I just think that when you think of Billie Holiday, or pre this film, when you think of Billie Holiday, you think of, jazz singer, a great jazz vocalist. You think of her as a heroin user, a little bit of the fashion, but you really don't think of her as a civil rights leader. And I think that that's the beauty of the story, that, that we all are all so complex, and we all have the power to be Billie. We all have the power to be Billie Holiday.
Yeah, I mean, that complexity kind of speaks to another thing that I really found amazing about the character and the performance, which is that she's simultaneously such a strong character and yet so vulnerable. And so, this is like one of the all-time great movies about loneliness, I think. I mean, this character I felt like she was so lonely so much of the time. And so much of that is so subtle. And Andra, I'm curious for you, having to play something that's both so subtle and so complex. The one thing that occurred to me watching the movie a second time is how difficult it must have been when, I'm guessing that, like all movies, this was shot completely out of sequence. And how do you kind of keep yourself centered to know like where she is at each given point? And, how did you kind of track that?
I think, well, first, again, I always do this, but to really give credit back again to Lee and to Tasha, I mean, Tasha prepared me before going there to be, wasn't one of the things she would say, to be pliable, right, Lee, to like wherever Lee is, she would, go through things and exercises, and we'd go through these scenes, but she would but at the end of the day, you have to be willing to throw all of this away if he wants to go in a different direction. So she really hammered that into me. So for me, it wasn't necessarily about, okay, show up and be prepared just for this scene. It was like, just be her. You know what I mean? Just be her, and and not just be her, but be a very, very vulnerable, a very fractured you in being her, right? When people talk about the parallels, I'm still a Black woman, and I'm a Black woman living in America. So I know that loneliness, and I know that invisibility, and I know that sort of feeling of like, you have no friends, and so, and then there's my own familial trauma to pull from. So I came, to me, it was just no way to be, at least, again, this is my first role. So I was really, really terrified of not doing well, and not, and sort of disappoint Lee and her. And so it was like, I'll just do whatever it needs to be done to get it, so it was really about just staying in her and showing up as her everywhere, and then letting the circumstances and what he says dictate Billie's reaction, or my reaction through Billie, to whatever it is that was going on. And I think that's sort of how I personally navigated it with his direction.
And that was hard for me, because she was, we did not shoot in sequence. And I had to remember exactly what she was doing the scene before, whether she was high, whether she was hung over, whether she was sober, whether she was, where it was she. And then just sort of changing her from scene to scene, sometimes 2 scenes or 3 scenes in a day, to these different these emotions, these different feelings.
Well, that I think that whole thing of just trying to be her all the time, that also really comes through in the musical numbers. I mean, the musical numbers in this movie are fantastic. They kind of remind me of like a Vincent Minnelli or a Stanley Donen musical or something, where the songs they're not just songs. They're not just songs. They're really telling you something about the character and where she's at that moment. And it's really conveying a lot. And Lee, I'm curious if it was in the script. Like, to me, it felt like it was very carefully structured, like which songs came at which points. And was that all from the beginning, or did you play around with that order in editing or anything like that?
No, pretty much the same. The only thing we changed was All of Me, which was not in All of Me didn't open the movie, but she did such a magnificent job with the ending of All of Me, where that if you know the moment where she starts crying, she ends with, I said, okay, the direction for that moment when she's singing the song was, okay, I want you to it was, I think, one of the last scenes that we shot. I said, okay, Andra, and I never called her Andra, ever, until that moment. I said, Andra, I need you to leave Billie. I need you to leave Billie singing the song. And she broke down in tears because she couldn't. And I think that, and even after that moment, she ran away from me because she thought she let me down. So she was, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful because, and I caught it. We only did one time. We did it twice, but that first time when she broke is what I used. And it was so powerful that I wanted to open the film with it, to bookend it with All of Me, to show that she was giving but she has that interview and she says, they just want me to shut up and sing All of Me. And the unimportance of the song to her, but really the importance of the song at the end, and how she did really give all of herself.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I've heard that song a million times over the years, and this was the most powerful performance of it I've ever heard. And I think, again, because of that context that you sort of provide in the movie, that sense that she does give all of herself, and it's like by the end of the movie she's just got nothing left to give. And it was it was really powerful and really affecting. And the musical numbers, kind of speaking, going back to what I was saying at the beginning of this about how the movie just feels so immediate and personal and passionate. The song performances are like that too. I mean, they don't feel like your typical lip synced, whatever that you get in these movies. So I was wondering if you could both talk a little bit about how you approached the musical numbers. I mean, were they all shot and recorded live, or?
We got one in every time. We got one. I try to get 1 or 2 in every time. So I'm not sure whether or not, I really, to be honest with you, her voice is so pitch perfect. It's hard for me now to find out which one, I'm sure she'll tell you, which one is live and which one is not. But I remember that I'd like to shake it up. So part of what I find interesting about working with actors is that they think they have it down, but they don't. I'd like to confuse them a little bit before they go on. And so, like I have her, and I know Billie Holiday. What do you call it, Andrew, when you glide out to the audience, when your whole body goes out?
Surfing. Crowd surfing.
Crowd surfing. Now, you know, Billie Holiday did not crowd surf.
That was some creative license.
But I was like, you know what? I think today we're going to crowd surf. And she was like, what? I said, yeah, crowd, just go out there. And so it was in the moment. It was spontaneous. It was, I believe in that kind of, that spontaneity. That's going to, I think you can see it in the eyes of the actor. That she was, what the hell's going to happen to me? Is somebody going to drop me? Am I just going to give it up? And to me, that's the most magic. That it brings out the magic in people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing was. I mean, we had it, but nothing was really rehearsed. We thought we had the numbers down, but I would go in the moment. If she sang it a certain way, and if the audience was doing a certain thing, I would sort of swing to whatever I thought in that moment would be beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was all of them. We pre-recorded all of the songs, but there was actually, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but there was a lot of them actually, and maybe most of them, the musical numbers that we actually sang live on set as well too. So we pre-recorded and he wanted it sung live as well, because there was something, it was an energy and just, you know, because as an artist as well too, since, you know, that's what I do, there's something about, you know, okay, you're singing a song and you have it pre-recorded, but there's an exchange that happens with you and your audience in that atmosphere and in that moment when you're actually singing live. And so it did bring an energy. And so he actually had us, God Bless the Child was one that we did that too. All of Me obviously was definitely one of them. Them Their Eyes too as well, if you remember
Them
that.
Their Eyes live.
Them Their Eyes, yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of them actually that we pre-recorded just to have, but we also actually did it live while we were on set too.
Mm-hmm.
And then she would change. Billie would change. Like Andra had an interpretation of Billie when she began, because she pre-recorded the songs. She and Salam Remi, who did an incredible job. He worked with Amy Winehouse, and he's incredible. And they did a certain thing, but then Andra went deeper into Billie, and so every time, like as the movie progressed, as our shooting progressed, I knew that she would give a different version of Billie, that she understood in the moment that Billie had just finished maybe getting high,
right,
or having sex, or is in a different type of pain that we didn't know when we were originally recording the music.
Mm-hmm.
And actually the way you said that too, Lee, is because he's right. Like when we pre-recorded it, you know, it was like in August, you know, and so I was in her, but like, and had done my research, had prepared every scene, had, you know, done, you know, whatever the work you should do, you know. But it's different when you're there and you're seeing everything and you're experiencing her in these places and in this period and with these people, which actually lends itself, because one of the things Billie Holiday was very known for was her phrasing. And that was one of her key phrases, what she would say about herself, what Lester Young would say about her. She never sings a song the same, not one time, you know. And I realized while we were on set, as he's just saying, is that, you know, which probably had a lot to do with just her deferring circumstances and just these dynamics kind of throughout her life and her different situations. So yeah, she might have just come from Levy, or she might have just come from Joe Guy, or she might have just come from, you know, being, you know, interrogated or being followed, or, you know, so it's like you realize that it was a style choice, but it also had a lot to do with just how she felt and where her head was at in the moment. She almost couldn't sing a song the same each time, you know, so that kind of lended to that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Lee, I feel like your style fits that. So it serves that so perfectly, because the thing I love about all your movies is they have this really unusual combination where they feel very, very precisely designed, and like everything feels very purposeful. And yet at the same time, they always feel like they're very unpredictable and full of life. They feel unpredictable. It feels like crazy shit could go down at any minute. You know what I mean? It's like it's this really crazy blend that I love. And I'm curious for you, like, as a director, like when you are, you know, making one of these movies, how much how do you find that balance between, you know, planning and sticking to what your kind of an original idea was for it, and being open to all the discoveries that can kind of come along the way?
You know, one of my earliest, besides Lady Sings the Blues, one of my earliest film experiences was taking my mom to see John Waters' Pink Flamingo. I had seen it, and then I saw it. I was so like, what is this movie? And then I took my mom and I think my aunt the following day, because I couldn't believe what I saw. And my mom slapped me at the end of the film and said, "Why would you take me to some shit like that? What's wrong with you, boy?" And I said, I gotta get that. I gotta, that's something. So I think a little bit of John Waters does live in me, the unexpected. So I think that, you know, a lot of my work is inspired by European filmmakers. A lot of my work is inspired by Spike Lee and John Waters. a little ghetto, a little Euro, a little homo, a little Leonardo.
You also, do you remember Lee too? You know, and I never said this in an interview, I totally forgot. You had me watch Frances before this. You remember? Frances
was really, yeah. There was something about her performance that was really, I said, if you can make me feel the way Jessica Lange made me feel when I watched Frances, then we're doing something.
You know, another thing I'm curious about is because Lee, you do have a really unusual tone. I mean, that's a perfect way to describe it, where you say it's kind of all those things where it's, you know, John Waters meets Lady Sings the Blues, meets Spike Lee, meets European cinema. I mean, that's exactly why I love your movies. But that is a very unusual blend of things. And I'm curious, on a film like this, in the editing process, do you, like, in terms of trying to figure out how it's going to work for an audience, I mean, do you have people who you trust, who you show it to? Do you do test screenings? Do anything like that?
Well,
you know,
I had an incredible editor. Just my first time working with him, Jay. He's incredible. He did a film that I loved. Oh my God, the drug movie with Jay Rabinowitz. He did the movie. It'll come back to me, but it's this film was not tested the way because we were at, my director's cut came in at just as everything was shut down. So the ordinary testing process was not applicable to this film, where that I had a group of people. There's nothing more powerful than knowing your mistakes when you are in the middle of the test screening and you're in the theater and you're right in the center and you can feel what's working and not working, what laughs work, what cries work, what just like the pacing of the film, everything depends on the audience. And I didn't have that. We tested it on some screen, with some Zoom with 40, 50 people looking at me, not looking at me, but looking at the movie. And I'm looking at them picking their nose and eating pizza and smoking cigarettes and getting up, going to the bathroom. And I closed it. Literally, I closed my laptop and I said, I'll let the producers deal with this crazy shit. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be subjected to this craziness, madness. And so the movie was never really tested. So I'm really happy that you like the movie, because this is one of the first films I haven't tested. But I do show my films to trusted filmmakers and actors that I work with, and they tell me it's too long, this isn't working, take this out. And it's hard. The edit process is really hard, because you really think, even though you love the scene so much, it's not serving the story. It's not serving the momentum of the film. It's not serving the story. And so a lot of stuff has been cut out of this film that is going to be in my director's cut that is, I don't know, probably unwatchable, maybe the 35 minutes in it, but it's me just loving me.
Yes. That's the one. I want to see that, Lee. I want to see the director's cut.
Okay.
So I can just relive everything. Like
what was it like for you, Andra, watching the movie for the first time? I mean, given that this is your first, you know, first role, and it's I mean, again, such an incredible one, incredible movie. How did you enjoy watching the movie and watching yourself, or was it difficult?
She ain't watched this movie. She did not watch this movie. Did you? She still ain't watched it. She's scared. She ain't watched it.
I am terrified to see this movie. I don't know. Okay, I have not seen the movie. I'm going to watch it. I actually want to just watch it with Lee. Him and I talked about it. Like, well, at some point I will build up enough like strength and courage or
you're so good in the movie. I promise you, you're good in the movie. You are so good in the movie.
Here's the thing. So I've seen clips. I have seen clips of the movie because I had to do ADR, you know what I mean? So I've seen like touches of things. And it is so, I don't know how to describe it to you. You know, it was a lot of work that went into it, combing through every single page. It was so emotional for me. And one of the things people keep asking me, what was the hardest thing about being the character? But as Lee knows, and as I expressed to him multiple times, the hardest thing for me to date, it was leaving the character, and is leaving the character, because I'm honestly sitting here today, I still feel a little bit like, okay, I don't really know exactly. When people say, you know, if Lee says, okay, you can let Billie go, you know, the idea of it does scare me, because I'm sort of like, it's been 3 years, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't really know who I am in this season of my life outside of Billie. My memories with him on set are so potent. My memories with the cast on set are so potent. And I'm just like, I'm scared to close everything out by watching the culmination of it all. I know that I will. I just, emotion. It's the same thing like with my albums. I was telling him, and actually we connected on this when we first spoke about the role early on. Even with my album, I never listened to Cheers to the Fall again. I listened to it one time because I had to check the master to make sure everything was good. And I never have listened to it since then. I also feel like I'm so critical of myself that I don't think I'd be able to see what people see. I would just be like, why the fuck didn't I do this here? Why didn't I do this? I planned on doing this and I did, you know, it's like, right now I just am too scared. I'm so scared, and I'm so emotionally tied to her and to this movie and to everything. So I don't know, I just have to take my time with it, honestly. I really do. But I want to. But
we connected on that level because I have never seen any of my work after I leave, not the edit room. I go to the premiere, and then maybe, I guess, the test screenings in the premiere, but that's it. It's a wrap after that. So I will never, I can't even if it comes on television, maybe I'll watch 5 minutes of it and
yeah,
does not compute.
Yeah.
Can't do it, won't do it.
But we're going to. I want to watch. Actually, what we should do is schedule to watch the director's cut together, so we can just live.
Yeah, why don't we do that? That's what we'll do. We'll watch the
every morsel.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great movie, and you know, I feel like we kind of I haven't talked about some of the other, you know, the whole ensemble is fantastic. I mean, everybody in this movie is great, and I'm curious, Lee, you know, when you're doing a movie like this where you've got someone like, you know, you've got Andra, who's fantastic but is a newcomer, and then you've got some actors, you know, you've got people like, you know, Garrett Hedlund or Leslie Jordan or whoever, who have been doing it for forever. And you know, I'm curious what like, how do you create an environment for all those people from all those different backgrounds and all those different sort of approaches, so that you're all on the same page and you can kind of facilitate their best work? I know it's a really broad question, but
I think Andra can answer it best. I think she can answer it that best, because what I do is I make myself vulnerable. I really don't know what I'm doing. So, and maybe that's not a politically, that's not the politically correct answer to say, but as a director, my approach is always, I don't know what I'm doing. Help me figure this out in the moment, because only in the moment will we find the truth. And so I think I know what I'm doing, but I really don't. And I think, Andrew, you want to, because
yeah, I think, I mean, you know, you actually describe it. First of all, Lee is really like, I mean, he is a brilliant director, and he's the director that you imagine he would be. But I think a part of also what makes him that is that he's wonderfully collaborative. I'm not just saying this to be like complimentary. It really is, you know, I think he understands that you're working with actors and that actors are also artists, you know what I mean? And so it's like, we have this preparation in this work we do. And when you get in, the first thing he'll do is pare all of that shit back. You know what I mean? That you thought was going to be magical. To be like, no. But now that you're at this space of raw and bare, you know, okay, what are the ideas? What are the things you think? What would you do naturally in this scenario? So I think just allowing us to be people, you know, we're people playing people. So it's just human shit everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think he allowed us to do that. And also, you know, it's a combination. It's Lee, it's also the cast. You know, I give them so much credit because I don't think I could have done what I did. First of all, without the belief of Tasha Smith, my acting coach, Tom Jones, my dialect coach, with Lee, you know, trusting me, my trusting him, but my cast, you know, I will tell you, these people poured into me in a way that is, I will be grateful for the rest of my life. It was, you can't, for me, it was, I couldn't walk on set and be intimidated that I'm standing across from Rob Morgan and it's, oh, blah, blah, blah. He's not Rob Morgan. He is Louis McKay. You know what I mean? Trevante is Jimmy Fletcher. I am Billie Holiday. I had to believe that and live that. And, you know, so it's almost like this, forgive my language or whatever, but for her, there's certain instances where she's super phased. And then there's some instances where she can't be phased by any motherfucker. You know what I mean? So it's like, I had to live that. And they were so present with me in their characters, and they made such a great space for me to explore and to play and to do all these things. It's just, so it was just love. There was no intimidation. There was respect, and there was honor for people's work and their craft and the work they put into this movie, the work they had done prior to get here. But he creates what he always says, a cookout barbecue feel on set. Everybody wanted everybody to win. And so it just, and that's, I think, what netted us such a beautiful end result, you know.
It is important that everybody feels equal. And even the extras, I hate even calling them extras.
Yeah.
I go out to the audience and I have to the extras, and I talk to them and I explain to them that I'm watching you, that you are as important to me as Billie Holiday. So everyone is equal, and that's no bullshit. Everyone is equal, and we all have to feel as one. And I think that, and I think you feel it from the extras, you feel it from the supporting cast, you feel it from Andra, you feel it from Trevante, because it was, I conduct my set, and that's inclusive of my crew, as if it were outside of my backyard and as a party, or, you know, everybody's, it is a party. And I think it shows on screen, because everybody feels equal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that that pays off. You know, I watched the movie a second time, and when I was watching the movie a second time, speaking to your point about the extras, you know, I mean, in some of the like in some of the concert scenes, I mean, I was really impressed by how good the extras were and how you were, you know, like how carefully you were placing them. I mean, the fact that like in one of the concert scenes, you know, you can see that the audience is segregated. It's not just like you know, you didn't just like randomly throw a bunch of people out there and not tell them what to do. Like they are reacting very specifically, and it really does help immerse you in this world. And, you know, something, you know, both of you, like, you know, Andrew talking about laying yourself bare, and Lee, you talking about being vulnerable. I guess, you know, to wrap things up, the last question I have for you is, you know, as a director, you're now in kind of the most vulnerable state there is, which is, you know, your movie is about to be unleashed on the public, and you're about to, and I'm curious, you know, we were talking a little bit before we went on this about the fact, you know, one of the reasons I like you as a director is you're very bold, but that also sometimes in your past has gotten some of your movies very divided reactions, as we talked about. And I'm curious how you kind of respond to all that, and how you kind of emotionally and psychologically, you know, how you sort of protect yourself in that situation.
Thank you for asking that question. It's the first time I've been asked that question, and it's terrifying. It is terrifying. And because I understand that a lot of critics and a lot of people don't see the lens of, see through the same lens that I see the world. They're not Black, they're not gay, you know, so they don't understand the way I see the world or the way that Billie saw the world. And so I know that everybody's not going to respond to the film the way you did. Thank you so much. But I guess at the end of the day, I love the movie. I love it. I love it. I love it because I know that I did Billie Holiday justice. And so I'm going to figure out a way, in a very sober way, to protect myself. And I think here's the great part. Thank you for asking that question, because again, it's the first time. I got a team around me, a new family around me, Billie Holiday's family around me, Andra Day. I can call her 24/7, and she's going to take care of me if people don't respond to the film. Yeah, I think I'm going to be okay.
Well, I think it's a beautiful movie, and I really appreciate both of you taking the time to talk with me about it. And yeah, thanks for doing this, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody out there for watching.